Hello guys, today we are going to talk about the loot filter that appeared in Diablo 4 after the Lord of Hatred expansion. This is a feature I personally have been very much looking forward to, and let's take a look at what we got, using specific step-by-step actions as an example. New off is with you, let's go. I will start with a non-obvious setting for enabling the loot filter. For it to appear in the menu, you first need to go into the game settings, the gameplay section, and check the box. After that, the loot filter itself appeared in the menu. Right away, while you are in the menu, go to the key binding section and assign a key for turning the filter on and off. It works in toggle mode, not hold to activate. That is extremely inconvenient. This key will be needed if we want to see exactly what has been filtered out and remains on the ground. If you do not want to mess around with anything and just use a ready-made filter, then this specific loot filter will be in the planner via the link in the description, in the mid-game planner tab. To get it, you need to click New Filter at the top left and paste the copied code. The name will be whatever the current name is. Like mine, you click Confirm and you have a ready-made loot filter. But you still need to know what controls what, so that you can make edits if necessary. Add or remove types of items, color specific loot a specific color, and so on. Do not be afraid. Setting up a loot filter from scratch is very simple. It is nothing more than a set of simple and logical rules. The priority goes to the rules that are at the top. That is the main condition. The higher the rule, the higher its priority. The lowest rule has the lowest priority. We click Add Rule in the filter and give it a name. By default, it goes to the top. That means it is more important than all the rules below it. And if a lower rule forbids something specific, a higher rule that allows that same thing will take priority. That is it for priority. We have created the filter itself. I will show you using my ready-made one as an example, but I will explain everything in detail. The very first rule, which is why it is at the very bottom of what we create, is hide all. Does that remind you of anything? Correct. This is exactly how all of us are used to starting in Path of Exile. It is with this approach to a loot filter that maximum flexibility is achieved. I will simply disable the other rules to show you what gets filtered and what does not. Here, two rules are selected. The first is by item type. Here, select all types. This is mandatory. The second rule is item rarity. Here, also select all checkboxes, including mythics and talismans. At the top, set the option to hide all. Save, and here it is important to remember, this will save you a ton of time and nerves. Sometimes after working with the loot filter, it is enabled by default in the game, and sometimes it is disabled. Keep that in mind, so in theory everything should be hidden. I throw different types of items on the ground. All types of items are hidden, including talismans. But I will tell you right away, this rule does not apply to the Tree of Whispers boxes and anything that is in these three tabs. That is, any item from them, whether it is a rune, a Kuras tribute, or a crafting ingredient, everything in these three tabs shows up regardless of whether the loot filter is on or off. There is no filtering function for these items. Whether there will be later is unknown. So, we have figured out the first rule. We hid everything. Now let's move on with everything we need. The second rule is for talismans and seals. The first condition inside this rule is the item's rarity, that is, of the talisman. At the beginning of the game, we need all types because we do not have anything yet. We check everything except set talismans, for which there will be a separate rule higher up. The second option inside the rule is what actually defines that this rule is for seals and charms. Our tab is named Charms, and visibility is set to Enabled. That means we will now see all types of talismans on the ground, but as we progress, we uncheck magic and rare types, and we only see the remaining ones. You check the boxes here by rarity type as needed. I remind you again, unchecking the box on the left disables the rule. The third rule is for white, magic, and rare items for crafting. Here we select three types of rarity. We also select an item power of 900. Now, all such items will be shown to us on the ground. But we may not need this at some point, and we can add a condition to the rule. Show only items from this group that already have one or more greater affixes. We save it, and now we see that items of power 900 for crafting are only visible if they have greater affixes. Next is the rule for set talismans. Here I selected only the ones I need. That is, before this I collected all the sets, tried them out, and decided that the sets which are unchecked, I will not need to upgrade them and I will not collect them. Upgrading a talisman means getting it with the right affixes on the talisman itself. For example, +3 to the skills. We save it. There is a detail. We can work with each specific talisman of a set. This all seems complicated, but after watching the video and trying everything with your own hands, you will easily change everything to suit your needs. And again, do not forget that the loot filter may be disabled in the game, even though it was enabled before the changes. The next point is to show absolutely all legendary, unique, and mythic items without exception. This is currently relevant because we need materials for crafting, and I collect all legendary and unique items to break down at the blacksmith. Additionally, the cube has a recipe for merging 3 items into one new item. There will also be a guide for the cube once I figure out in detail what is what. The next rule will show you all items with a higher aspect than you currently have. This can also be recolored. The item type is not mandatory here because the game checks your codex of power. The basic minimum is done, but we need to go further and better. With the next rule, we select particularly interesting unique items from the list. Pay attention here. Mythical items are also unique items. Select the ones that are especially interesting to you and highlight them with a color. But by now, we most likely need these items with greater affixes. So, in the drop-down menu, select an additional condition and set greater affixes as a required condition. Next, we create a rule that shows legendary items with 1 greater affix or more in a different color. This is for later stages of the game. Select the condition for item rarity and for the presence of a greater affix. Now, all legendary items with 1 greater affix or more are colored. Optionally, you can customize the filter specifically for yourself. The total number of rules can be 25, and that is more than enough. Let me show you with an example. I need a specific legendary with a specific affix and with a greater affix. I create a rule. The item power range filter is not needed because we will be looking for an item with a greater affix. The item rarity match is not needed because we have already long since blocked all white, blue, and yellow items. Item properties, we set ancestral if we specifically want ancestral. The greater affix rule we set if needed. But keep in mind, the item will be searched for a greater affix on any affix, not the specific one you choose further down. Next is the has required affixes. Here we can select several affixes, but it will search based on the presence of any one of them. Similarly, the next rule is for an optional affix. You can select several, but it will only search for any one of them. You cannot select an option you have already selected again. So we search by type and by 2 properties on the item. If necessary, select the item type directly inside this rule. There will be enough rules even if you make your own for each piece of equipment. However, you cannot make a rule with item type and 3 or 4 mandatory stats on that item, but that is asking for too much. Everything is good as it is. Now listen carefully. If over time you want to hide legendary items without greater affixes completely, then you need to go to the general gear rule and uncheck the box next to it. Now, all legendary items without greater affixes will be hidden by default. The same can be done with unique items if needed. Create a filter, name it. Be sure to give them names, otherwise you will get confused later. Select the item type, then select the greater affix check. Now, as in the previous case, go to the gear filter and disable unique items there, because this rule will show us all unique items with greater affixes. The display of unique and legendary talismans will not be affected because we have a separate rule for them. That is the advantage of this filter system. Each item type is described separately, and if you disable something or make a mistake, the other items will not be affected. This is simple to check. Disable the filter with these items and see what happens. If the result does not match expectations, either your expectation is wrong or there is an error somewhere, or the loot filter turned itself off. The code for this specific loot filter, as I said above, will be in the mid-game sorceress build planner in the T12 tab. Take it and use. Well, there it is. Diablo 4 now has a loot filter, and I am happy, but not completely happy. And not completely happy because they still left a lot of things that do not fall under the loot filters. But I am not complaining, because affixes on talismans, for example, are already in the realm of fantasy. And highlighting things on the minimap as needed, I am not waiting for that either. You know, in game design, picking up and looking at loot is a mandatory part of engaging with the gameplay loop. It only seems like, just let me rush ahead and have everything auto pick up and then I will really play. But in reality, it is a fact confirmed by everyone who has tested it. If you let players run and auto-collect everything, the average playtime drops. And nobody wants that. I mean, the game producers. So that is how it is. That is everything on the loot filter. Thank you for watching. If it was helpful, hit like, and in any case, write a comment. The best way to help the channel, if you happen to like it, is to share the video with your friends. Thank you. Bye.